welcome. Reverend Michael McMorrow coming to you live from the sanctuary at the Center for Spiritual Living here in Granada Hills, California, which is in the North San Fernando Valley, a place where we welcome all who practice their beliefs in faith and love. It is time for our Wednesday night healing and revealing service, Get Real and Heal. And since the first of the year, we've done some warm-up exercises. But given that we do have one guest, because we are now officially open, I'm not going to put her through that. So if you do want to start attending, we are open. When we have more people in here, then we will be wearing masks, but you do not need a reservation to join us at this time unless there's just some big flood of folks who show up. So if you've been enjoying meditating at home and you want to come in and check out the sanctuary, you're welcome to join us. And so please just take a deep breath with me and just release as we bring down the lights just a little bit, and recognize and know with me that there is but one thing going on here, God and nothing else, that there is but one power, one presence, one source, one life of the divine that is both impressing and expressing itself in, through, and as all of life, and in, through, and as all that we are. And so as we each, within our own understanding of how that works for us, we connect with that indwelling presence, the wellspring of love itself, and allow it to express itself fully in this moment. That from this place of conscious unity with the One, I know for everyone listening, that even as we set our intention for this meditation this evening, at the same time we release any attachment to form. We release any attachment of what that's to look like. So we release any attachment to what happens next, and how long is it going to take, and when will he stop talking, and when will he start talking. We're just releasing any concerns around that and just allowing ourselves to be. As we follow the breath and allow that focus and clarity to take us where it will. And so in this way, we are all open to have a direct experience, a direct revelation of the living Spirit arise from within us, that we are open at the top to any inspiration, divine guidance, or direction that we may receive this evening. That we are releasing any sense of ill health of any kind, and instead allowing the full and complete expression of radiant good health in body, mind, and spirit to make itself known. And so we take a deep breath one more time. And in that release, we just release this word, the cares, concerns, intentions of anyone listening. We're just releasing it now to that aspect of the mind, of the divine itself, expressing as unconditional love. A love that appears to be impersonal as it falls on the just and the so-called unjust alike. And so in deep gratitude and confidence, we release this word, knowing it is done, knowing it is so. And together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. Amen. And so in the post-pandemic days, we would have a creative thought at this time given by the presider, which we don't yet have. And so instead what I'm going to do is make my way over to the meditation cushion as soon as Mike gives me a little cover so you don't have to see my graceless form, assuming the position. Reverend Jessica said she could hear me grunting and groaning as I was heading to the cushion. So, who says you can't teach an old dog new tricks? All right, so we're continuing to work with this book, The Infinite Way, Joel Goldsmith.
What about the candles?
Oh, yeah. What about the candles, Mike? So now you got to turn the whole thing off again. Pay no attention to that man in the center of the room. Oh, there we go. That's for you, Jessica. Oh, good Lord. A creak. See, we're getting all those giggles and jiggles out before we meditate. All right. Who says meditation's no fun, right? We're having a party here. Okay. Now let's get spiritual. All right, so taking a deep breath and release, surrendering to this moment, our call to service, which we call lighting the flames of faith. And we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here this evening. So the first candle we have lit is for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the second candle for shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the third candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. The fourth candle we light for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. The sixth candle we light for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the ninth candle for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And the 10th candle we light for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of spirit in their lives, and for the space we hold for them here at our center, within our online community, and within our own hearts. And as we light the healing candle, some of us lost mothers this year. Let's put within the healing candle the names of our mothers and maybe the names of ourselves, anyone you wish to experience the healing flame of God's eternal love.
I surrender. I'm one with the Spirit all around me. I surrender. I surrender. I trust in God.
Okay, so just taking a deep breath one more time. Having been prayed in, we just allow ourselves to surrender again to this moment. On that exhale, to just feel the release. The release from the cares and concerns of the day. And just to know that all is well. That we are being supported in presence and in consciousness with those joining us here in the room and online. And that for those of you who are tuning in later, that this consciousness continues to resonate and to support in this moment. And so we feel the presence of the ineffable, indescribable ground of being. And we allow it to support us as we move through this healing meditation this evening. So we just let it go. Let it be so. And so it is. So we're continuing, as I started to say before Mike reminded me after I sat down about doing the Flames of Faith. We're continuing to use this book, The Infinite Way, written by Joel Goldsmith, a favorite within the New Thought community and really within anyone who wants to go deeper with their understanding of what they know the divine to be. And I would say from a Western perspective, because this fellow was an American. Well, at least he lived in America. I presume he was American. So he writes this on page 57, that truth is simple. So we're going to back up just a little bit. Truth is simple. There are no deep metaphysics or mysterious truths. It is either truth or not truth, but there cannot be deep truth and shallow truth. Truth to be truth must be absolute truth. We are concerned now with the truth that we individualize infinite power. We must not look to a power outside of or apart from ourselves. We individualize infinite power in proportion to our consciousness of truth, capital T, truth. We individualize infinite power in proportion to our consciousness of truth. The life, which is God, is our life. There is but one life, and this life is of all being, of every individual. We individualize this eternal life. And it is no less God in one than in another. It is diseaseless and deathless in all. Our consciousness of this truth is the healing influence within us. Our consciousness of this truth that there is no less God in one than in another, that it is diseaseless and deathless, that this consciousness of truth is the healing influence within us. There is but one consciousness, God, And remember when teachers such as Goldsmith use this word God, it's a placeholder word for that depth of being, consciousness, life itself, that we individualize this omnipotent, omniscient consciousness. Therefore, our consciousness is the ever-present help in every circumstance. For this reason, we do not pray to or contact some far-off being, but realize the omnipresence of divine consciousness as our consciousness and let go of this seeming problem. The awareness of this truth establishes us in the consciousness of the presence of life, truth, God. The understanding of the oneness of consciousness as our consciousness, as of life as our life, is truth eternal. Well, that one paragraph sums up the whole practice of science of mind or spiritual mind treatment. There's one consciousness, God. Our consciousness is its consciousness. Of course, we are the limiting factor because we go, well, no, I'm too shallow or not deep enough. We get into all these judgments. And not just on ourselves, of course, which is also unfortunate. The awareness of this truth establishes in the consciousness of the presence of life, truth, God, the understanding of the oneness of consciousness as our consciousness, of life as our life, truth is eternal. The next step in unfoldment is the realization that as the individualization of consciousness, we embody within our own consciousness, our body, our business, our home. We can provide our dominion over the weather, climate, income, health, and body only as we know these to be ideas of consciousness which we are. Home, employment, and body are ideas within us and are subject to our understanding. And the consciousness of this truth gives us dominion. This does not exalt humanhood or make it divine. It wipes out humanhood and instead reveals divinity. I'm going to read a little bit longer because then that will finish out this chapter. We can measure our spiritual unfoldment by watching whether or not we are trying to improve the physical scene. We must remember that the structural life of man, animal, or plant is not the one life, God, but the human, limited concept of real life. Therefore, any attempt to heal, change, or correct the physical universe is evidence that we have not developed sufficient spiritual consciousness. So I always think of that as trying to wrestle the steer. We don't need to do that because there's only one thing, right? Consciousness. Christ consciousness recognizes all life to be God, but realizes that what appears to be material sight and sound is not that life, but merely the illusion or false sense of existence. Spiritual consciousness discerns the life which is real. Inasmuch as we cannot meet a problem on the level of the problem, we must rise above the level of appearance in order to bring out the harmony of being. That which is visible to the five senses is not the reality of things. Therefore, We cannot think from that level, even though we do. Disregarding appearances, we turn from the picture before the senses and begin there to become aware of reality, of that which eternally is. Now, I have to say, having been exposed to this teaching as a student for some 20 years now, this stuff makes a lot more sense to me now. Not that I could recite it back chapter and verse, but there was a time when I would have struggled with all of this because I have been, I suppose, to put it in philosophic terms, I was a materialist. Right? If you couldn't measure and quantify it, then it didn't exist. And I think that's the way many of us who have a scientific or an interest in scientific things and see the world from a science-based way, it's only natural that we see the world this way. But what we're working with is in the field of metaphysics, beyond that which cannot be seen, where we understand that thought is a power behind the material sense world. We have a sense of that when we say things like perception is reality. Right? Perception is reality. So what we think we're seeing is not really what we're seeing. So we kind of get that. That's intuitive, yeah? But the Goldsmith and other metaphysician, teachers of metaphysics, are encouraging us to take it one step further and to understand that there is a power, a field of mind, of consciousness, that as we align with and access that, then we will have an experience of life that the teacher Jesus spoke to when he said, all shall be added unto you. And so I've heard it many times by people who have been practitioners of this teaching for some time, that by focusing our attention on consciousness and aligning our consciousness with the one life, that it no longer even really becomes necessary to put needs and desires into motion, because often our needs are met. Sometimes before we even realize that we had a desire for it. It just kind of shows up with, oh, I was just thinking about that the other day, and look, ta-da, here it is. Isn't God cute? So this is where having a meditation practice can come in, because we allow the mind to still, and within that lies the possibility. Well, first of all, there's just a sense of peaceful abiding within the self that happens. But then there's also the possibility of guidance and just release of things that do not serve us, including things that we may not consciously be aware of. So in Buddhism, they call those, I believe the term is sankharas, or defilements. So that's why we're just observing the thought, observe it, release it, observe it, release it. And that's what we're going to do now. We're going to stop talking and observe and release. So get yourself comfortable in your chair or however you are sitting. And let's just begin by taking a deep conscious breath. And just feel the release. As you release, just feel your body settle. Can you feel that? And then bring your attention to the movement of the breath in the nostril. Just following the breath. We're going to take another deep breath. And then on the exhale, bring your attention to, see if you can detect the movement of the breath on the exhale on your upper lip. So taking a deep breath. Feel the release. Staying with the breath. And we're just going to do a body scan, starting with the bottoms of our feet, moving up the legs and into the knees. And sometimes we have our knees torqued a little bit, so just check, and if so, just you find tension, you just simply take a breath and release. So you're kind of breathing into that area where there's tension, and then on the exhale you will feel it unwind. Following the breath. To the thigh muscles, the quads, to the hamstrings, into the buttocks and the sit bones. Take a few breaths here. Bring our attention to the spine over the sit bones, so the spine is erect but comfortable, no tension. The head is balanced over the spine. Sit bones, so the head balanced on the spine balanced on the sit bones. And we breathe. tummy rise and fall gently, naturally, forcing nothing. And up the spine, into the shoulders, down the arms. Feel the release, feel the relaxation with the breath. Again, into the shoulders and the neck, erect. Tongue away from the roof of the mouth. Attention to the space between the eyebrows, the third eye, the crown of the head. And as you get deeper with following the breath, you may feel a sensation. And we're just observing. If we get snagged by a thought, we just breathe deeply and exhale and return back to the breath. So taking one more deep breath together and release as we move into the silence for about 15-20 minutes. So as we gently bring our attention back into the room, staying with the breath, imagine with me that at the center of our chest, at our heart center, is the eternal flame. Flame of the indwelling Spirit. So with each in-breath, we are now fanning that flame. And as we know, the light of the divine is everywhere present. We're breathing in light, commingling with this light within. This flame that is now the eternal fire, with a light that radiates and illumines rather than consumes. So we breathe in the light, and it commingles and strengthens and restores. And we release that which we no longer need. That we are breathing in the light of the divine, and that the divine is breathing us. So with each in-breath, we see this light within expand and contract, expand and contract in the same way that we inflate a balloon. That this ball of light now continues to expand with each in-breath. Expanding now beyond the body torso, front to back, top to bottom, breathing in light, and we exhale love. Breathing in light, exhaling, releasing love. Breathing in light, exhaling love, so that this globe now is reaching beyond our fingertips, that we are now sitting in a field of light, in a field of infinite possibilities for good, a field of love itself, that we extend our consciousness, this light and our consciousness, that we are connecting even in this moment to others who are on this call, others who are in this room, and we're feeling this field of infinite possibilities for good, this field of infinite love that we feel immersed in and connected and expressing as. So from this place, we speak into this field now, that which our hearts desire, that which is needed for a full and complete expression of good in our life. Knowing that there is but one power, one presence, one source, one life, one light, impressing and expressing itself in, through, and as all of life, in, through, and as all that we are. And so in this moment, we are allowing ourselves to align with the vibration of light itself. That we are aligning with the frequency of the living Spirit. That every atom, every molecule, every cell, every muscle, every organ, every bone, every sinew, all of the various systems of the body temple are now aligning and aligned with the living spirit and expressing as a pattern of perfection, that our thought is open and receptive to the divine impress of new and creative and dynamic ideas that have within them the solution to any seeming obstacle that may be presenting themselves to us, that we know that in the consciousness of the one mind, the solution is already present. We are open to that now. That we further open to a divine impress of creativity in all of its forms, whether in ways of art and beauty, but also within the workplace, within our career path, that we know that here too, the infinite power and the presence of the living spirit can demonstrate itself and make itself known. So that finally at the heart center now, we're opening with the heart, open and receptive to ways of expressing and experience the love of the divine as loving kindness, compassion for all beings. That we courageously step into this mandate of being a living expression of the love of the divine. And so from this place of connection in love, that know with me that tomorrow, as Casey and Rashida step into a new commitment of life together, that they begin their married life stepping into this field of infinite possibilities for good, knowing that they are buoyed and supported by the living spirit itself as individuals and in their marriage. And so for this word, for the cares, concerns, intentions, vision of anyone listening, we take one more deep breath and release. And feel the sweetness of that release, knowing that we are releasing it now to the one consciousness, the consciousness of the one mind of the living spirit expressing as love in all of the myriad of form. We feel a sense of gratitude for the many blessings in our life. From clean water to a roof over our head with enough to eat, enough overflow even as we call forward that which we require, knowing that it is done unto us as we believe. So our faith is strong. We speak our word with authority. And in deep gratitude and confidence, then we release it all now to that which makes all things so. We release it, we let it go, allow it to be so. And together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. Amen. So if you were following along with me there, and not just in a nice, blissful, meditative state, I get to marry a couple tomorrow, the first wedding of 2021. So it's pretty exciting. It's one of the real joys of ministry, is being able to witness people coming together and expressing their love for each other and witnessing it one to the other. And friend of friends, and I get to watch the whole show. It's the best seat in the house. All right, so if you're still with us and this is your first time joining us, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's a little bell there. It'll ding you every time we have stuff going on YouTube, and we do have stuff coming up. So We will be on it. So we have started back. We're half capacity. You can, I don't know if Mike is panned back, but you can see we're all spread out pretty safely. You do have to. You do need a reservation. And if you can't figure out how to do that, drop me an email at revmike@CSLGH, and I'll send you the link to the Ticket Leap site. And so that's at 9 and 10:30. 10:30 is live streamed. As of now, there is no youth, no accommodation for youth, although your children are welcome if you have a reservation. And so you just put the number of people you want, and each one of your kids counts as one person. Unless you have them sit on top of each other. No, I'm joking. We're not going to do that. So, but they are welcome as you are. And we are still wearing masks, and we're doing the temperature check and the sanitizer thing. And so we're doing it all in a very mindful way, and coming in one way and exiting the rest. And there's places to visit outside. And so that's what's going on there. Is it next Tuesday, Mike? Mm-hmm. So next Tuesday, we're doing a prosperity potpourri with Reverend Dr. Maureen Hoyt, my teacher and predecessor of this center for many years. She's put this class together using the energy of money, the 4 agreements, and her vast knowledge of teaching prosperity and New Thought principles for, must have 35, 40 years in. Anyway, she's a great teacher, delightful teacher. That will be in person for the first 20 people who sign up, or you can join us online. So we're going to do this hybrid thing on Zoom and in line, and Mike has worked hard to put that together, and you know what? It looks pretty good. So join us. That's next Tuesday. Starts at 6:30. Just reach out to Dr. Maureen if you're on the constant contact, or drop Melissa a line at admin@CSLGH, and we'll get you registered for the class. There is no tuition. However, there is you will be invited to experiment with a conscious giving experiment. And Dr. Maureen will explain all that then. But there's no formal cost for the class. So that's it. It's been delightful having you here. It's been delightful having you here with us. And so I'll just stop talking now. We'll see you on Sunday. Peace and blessings.